TCP/IP was not, secure from the start. It was an open protocol. So to have secure communication on the TCP protocol, you had to develop more protocols which could write on TCP/IP. Okay, and the most common protocols you can see are IPSec, SSH, and TLS. Now, IPSec, SSH, and TLS help you in creating secure tunnels, okay, over TCP/IP connections. Okay, so the VPNs, when you say VPNs, these are the three protocols which are used for creating virtual private networks. Okay, Kerberos is a secure authentication system. Okay, now Kerberos is implemented in addition with VPN to have a identity and access management system on enterprise networks. There are multiple protocols which are used, but you should be aware of IPSec, SSH, and TLS. Okay, TLS helps you in securing web communication. Okay, SSH helps you in accessing servers securely. IPSec helps you in establishing VPN. You can create VPN using SSH and TLS also. IPSec is a protocol which is used over TCP/IP primarily for creating VPNs. IPSec has two modes. One is called a transport mode and one is called a tunnel mode. Now, transport mode is basically how a common network looks like in an organization is, you have an internal switch on which your computers are connected. Okay, then you are connected to a firewall, and you are connected to a router, and then you are connected to the ISP, okay, the internet, right? And on the distant end, you are again connected to a router, maybe a firewall and a switch, and then the computers are connected. Now, IPSec works in two modes, transport mode and tunnel mode. The transport mode is when user at this end, A, wants to communicate with user at B using a secure session. Okay, it wants to have security right from its computer, through the firewall, through the router, through the network, and right up to the PC. This is called a transport mode. That means each and everyone in this particular network can create secure sessions with someone else on the other network. That means the encryption protocol will need some kind of addressing. It needs to know where it needs to send the packet. That means it is transporting the packet. Okay, this is called transport mode. Then you have something called the tunnel mode. In the tunnel mode, what happens is you have an internal network, right, connected to your router or a firewall, and then to your ISP, other side also. Now, if your router is IPSec enabled, what will happen is there will be a tunnel created, secure tunnel created between the distant end routers. And whatever data is going inside this tunnel will get encrypted. Now, since there is no routing involved, the packets will encrypt at this to this edge. Beyond this, they will be in a unencrypted form. This is called a tunnel mode. Okay. Generally, questions come for IPSec tunnel and transport mode. You need to know, and that's why I explained that. Kerberos is a protocol used for single sign-on inside an enterprise network. Now, what is a single sign-on is? Okay, on the web, you know how single sign-on works, right? You have a Google identity, okay, and with Google identity, you sign on Facebook, you sign on, YouTube, you sign on Gmail, you sign on LinkedIn, okay. So one identity used to authenticate to multiple websites. Now that's single sign-on for the web. Now imagine in your organization, you have multiple applications. You have an application for HR, you have an application for email. If you're not having email from external sources, you have your own email, you have your own web service, you might have a finance app. Now, so many applications, one individual has to, then what you have to do, you have to remember username, and password for each and every application. Now, 20 years back, 15 years back, this was the case. Today, organizations have implemented something called a Kerberos. Okay, it's part of generally the AD architecture, that is the Active Directory architecture. You authenticate once to the Kerberos, then Kerberos handles your access to multiple application inside your premises. Okay, Kerberos provides you single sign-on inside a enterprise network. Okay, clear? Right. Then you have SSH. SSH is a protocol used for accessing remote servers securely. So you have a server on the web. Okay, you want to access it remotely, you access it using a private key. The public key is inside the server. So you access it, you are verified, and then you are granted access to the server. Okay. Signal protocol is a protocol used in an application called Signal. Okay. It is supposed to be secure signaling and is an alternate to WhatsApp. Similarly, you can have secure remote procedure call. What happens is, whenever you want to carry out a remote management of a client or an endpoint, you do something called a RPC, remote procedure call, that I want to do some kind of an activity on your server. Earlier, this used to be a non-encrypted session. So now, secure RPC protocol basically creates a VPN between the client and the server and then carries out the remote procedure call inside that tunnel. TLS is a protocol which is used for secure web browsing. Okay? Web browsing. What you do, you HTTPS, when you see, earlier HTTPS was implemented using something called a SSL. SSL was a protocol called Secure Socket Layer. Secure Socket Layer has been replaced by TLS. Okay. Earlier it was TLS 1.1, then it is 1.2, and now the 1.3 is considered the most secure way of accessing websites. Now, if you look at TCP/IP, okay, and you look at UDP and TCP/IP and OSI layer, they are encapsulation protocols. One packet over another packet over another packet. Now, something which is hiding inside the first packet, you may not be able to find at the outer layers. And that is the implication of multi-layer protocols. And that is why TCP/IP, you can embed a malware at application layer and network layer will not be able to detect it. So that's why a firewall working at a network layer will not be able to detect any attack at the application layer. So that is the implication of multi-layer protocols, because if you look at complete internet, it is a package of multiple protocols working to make the internet a successful journey. So what happens, you can have vulnerabilities in each and every protocol, and that's why securing internet is such a difficult proposition, right? Right. There are multiple protocols. This may not be really useful. DNP3 is a protocol which is used in SCADA system, just like TCP/IP. DNP3 is a protocol used in SCADA systems. Okay. Now the era is of converged protocols. Now, if you see in your house, you're using a wireless modem, and okay, if you look at this, a wireless modem, you are connected to your device on wireless. The wireless device is connected to on a optical fiber cable. So how is it happening? That means this is the Ethernet which is working on a fiber channel, and that's called FCOE, fiber channel over Ethernet. What is happening is, since fiber is what can take too much amount of data, and you would like to connect on a wireless because you like to be mobile inside the house. Go here 20 years back, you had to connect a Ethernet cable on your switch. Today, you do not, because wireless helps you in achieving that. So what happens is, this is happening because you are converging protocols over another. Okay. So that is how the converged protocols, that is the implication of converged protocols. There are many converged protocols. MPLS is a converged protocol used to attach network switches on the WAN links. Okay, your ISPs use such kind of a protocols for connecting routers over the internet. So it is for basically for wide area networking, not for local networking. Okay. Similarly, there's a protocol called ISCI. ISCI works at network layer. It is used for connecting, switches inside a small perimeter like a university or a small building, ISCI protocol can help you in connecting your small switches over optical fiber cable. So your switches will have a fiber cable connected to other switches, Your whole campus can be connected on optical fiber cable. If you have heard of GPON and EPON technologies, the one fiber which is coming to your home is called the GPON technology. They work. If you use ISCI, you can create your own GPON EPON network inside a small building. Okay. VoIP is another protocol which supports voice protocol over IP. Okay. This protocol is, any voice protocol which is going over the internet will be vulnerable to denial of service attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, and VoIP hopping. VoIP hopping is a man-in-the-middle attack is simple, right? You can come between the sender and the receiver and listen to it. Okay, if it is not secure, I will be able to listen to it. VoIP hopping is I'm speaking to you in this call and I'm able to jump from this call to another call. Okay, so there are vulnerabilities in protocols and which allow such kind of attacks. So you need to be aware of such attacks. SDN is software-defined networks. Okay, as I told you yesterday also, earlier network infrastructure used to be managed manually by configuring each and every router. Now you don't. You have the underlying network, right? And this underlying network is controlled by a software plane. That means the administrators interact with the software and not with the devices directly. And that's why if you want to upgrade from a 200 Mbps connection to a 1 Gbps connection, you just pay the money and your speed immediately increases from 200 Mbps to 1 Gbps, because nobody is physically doing anything. You paid the money, the parameters are passed to the router to increase your speed from 200 Mbps to 1 Gbps. Generally, as I told you, SDN is got the network infrastructure controlled by a software-defined network controller. Okay, so there's a controller which controls all the devices with which you interact. SDN allows you to have network virtualization. You can virtually control the network. You do not have to physically interact with the network. Okay. Similarly, there is something called a virtual storage area network. Now, virtual storage area network is basically, okay, you have your own computers which have their storage, but you would like to have a centralized storage area network which can be virtually accessed by your client. So there is a software-defined network which controls the large storage area which can be allocated to different clients. Okay, that is one way of storage area network. Second way of implementing storage area network is you have a lot of PCs in your environment. Everyone gives 200 MB of their space to a virtual vSAN, virtual storage area network. That means this software takes your hard disk space and makes it available to your enterprise as a centralized storage network, right? So what happens is you are not implementing additional storage. You are utilizing existing storage to be visible as a centralized storage in your enterprise. That's called a vSAN. Then you have something called software-defined storage. vSAN can be implemented using software-defined storage. So who will say that out of your hard disk, 200 MB is for storage area network? Some software is going to define that. And this software makes the entire 200 MB space of all the PCs visible as, say, 1 terabyte data space on your entire network. Okay. Similarly, there is a technology called SD-WAN. SD-WAN is basically, once you are implementing a wide area network, you're controlling the elements of wide area network by software plane. You do not have to interact with the underlying hardware. You have a software plane by which you define the parameters of the network. That is called SD-WAN. Okay. Network segmentation is done in networks to segregate public and private networks, or critical versus non-critical networks. So if within your network, if this is your switch, and your clients are connected to the switch, you might have a physical segmentation between your network clients and your server architecture. Your servers might be connected on a different network. So client on a different network, servers on a different network. Such kind of segmentation is called network segmentation, to differentiate between two network segments. Okay. Micro segmentation is where you want to do network segmentation at very, very small levels. This is generally done to have something called a zero trust. Okay. Micro segmentation is when you are implementing small networks with a firewall, okay, and connecting small entities. Okay, then you again have another firewall, you have another network, some network connected to another firewall, another network. So you have small firewalls controlling part of your entire network. Okay, that's called micro segmentation. VXLAN is a protocol which allows you to extend your LAN over internet. Now, suppose your office is in Delhi, okay, and you have a LAN here, and you want to have the same LAN extended to your Mumbai office. Okay, you can use a protocol called VXLAN to extend this LAN protocol over the internet using virtual tunneling. Okay, that's called a VXLAN protocol. Now, wireless networks are the most common way of implementing networks inside offices and buildings. They are low cost, but they are very risk prone to denial of service attacks and intrusion, because I can easily catch on to your signal. Okay, wireless has many standards. 802.11 is the main standard. Now it is A, B, G, N. It has reached to AC and AX. AC is Wi-Fi 5G and AX is Wi-Fi 6G. Okay. Now, Wi-Fi can be implemented in three modes. That is standalone mode. Standalone mode is I have a wireless network, okay, not connected to any WAN network. I just implement the wireless and connect local devices to this network. Something like a LAN over wireless. Okay. Then you have something called a wired extension mode. Wired extension mode is that your primary network, you have a primary network. This is your switch. Your primary network is here, but now some users are far off. Some users are far off. So what you do, you carry out a wire and connect a wireless hotspot and then make these users connect on wireless. This is called a wired extension mode. Okay, where you extend a local network using a wire and then put a hotspot. And then you have something called an enterprise extended mode. Enterprise extended mode is you have multiple Wi-Fi hotspots in your office. Okay, if say they're in a huge building and every floor you have a wireless device, but every time you go, the wireless address remains the same. The name doesn't change. Basically, it depends. It derives in which floor you are and automatically lets you hop inside your entire enterprise extended mode. Whichever floor you sit, you get your organizational wireless network only. That is called an enterprise extended mode. Okay. Access points. Access points are basically, the devices on which your devices log on. The one which is at home, that is called access point. And you can have two kinds of access point. One is called a fat access point, and one is called a thin access point. Fat access points are manageable. Fat access points is you connect to the access point, okay, and every management can be done here. Complete management can be done here. And thin access points are ones which are at our home. Okay, you have basic functionality. Major functionality is carried out by the ISPs. Okay, that is called a thin access point. SSID is the functionality inside your wireless device, which helps you detect or define which network you want to log on to. Okay, it has two kind of identifiers. One is called a BSSID, okay, and one is called a ESSID. There's also called ISSID. ISSID, I'll tell you differently. Okay, so ESSID is extended service identifier. You switch on your Wi-Fi router and you see a name coming. Okay, 8800382277_5. That is ESSID. Basically, it tells you about the service of the wireless modem. Then there is something called BSSID. BSSID transmits the MAC address of the hotspot. Okay, and then there is something called as ISSID. ISSID is used when you pair your device directly with another wireless device. Sometimes you connect your mobile phone directly to the printer. That time what is used is ISSID. Okay, SSIDs should be secured. Okay, somebody should not be able to find out the SSID very easily, and SSID can easily be sniffed. You use a Wireshark, you can find out any SSID. Hiding SSID doesn't make any difference. You should change the default name. Okay, all wireless connections should at least be protected by WPA2. Enterprise should be protected by WPA3. Okay, wireless has generally two channels. One is called a 2.4 gigahertz channels, gives you a speed of up to 200 Mbps. Okay, and wireless 5G gives you a speed of around 1 Gbps. Okay, as of now, these are the two spectrums which in use. Once 6G comes in, you will see, up to 8 Gbps at your home. Within the next 2 to 3 years, 5 years, maybe we will see 6G coming into our homes. Before you deploy a wireless network, you should carry out something called a wireless site survey. Now, this has got direct implication of out of CIA, it is availability. Because say you put a wireless hotspot somewhere, and the cornermost guy will not be able to get the wireless strength. So before you deploy wireless networks, you carry out a wireless site survey and generate a heat map. What will be the actual coverage of a given wireless hotspot device? Wireless, as I told you, there are a lot of vulnerabilities happened in the wireless first generation. WEP was cracked very easily. Okay, it was considered weak. Now, no more in use. WPA1, no more in use. WPA2 has got vulnerabilities now coming up, and that's why WPA3 is considered safe as of now. Okay. Okay. Now, when you connect when you connect to your hotspot device, right, there is certain communication which takes place between your device and the mobile hotspot. That communication is protected by a protocol called 802.1x. Okay, basically encapsulation authentication protocol. Encapsulation authentication protocol helps you in exchanging your username and password or identification authentication data securely with your wireless modem. Okay, that is called EAP. Then there are many such protocols, LEAP, PAP, which help in establishing this device to network device authentication. These are proprietary protocols used for identifying devices on the net, authenticating devices on the network. Okay. Wireless also use WPS. WPS is not a good idea in enterprise networks. Even at home, you should generally disable WPS. WPS allows you to sync a device with your hotspot without authentication data. Okay, that is very, very, WPS is non-encrypted. Whenever your username and password are exchanged, anybody can sniff your username and password, and that's why WPS should be disabled. Okay, you can also have something called captive portals. Captive portals are basically once you go to hotels, right? You've been to hotels and you log into there, they ask for some authentication, name and room number, and then you get access to the wireless hotspots. A good practice is using a VPN on public hotspots. A hotel, even though it has a captive portal, you should always use a VPN over public hotspots. Okay, that's your basic security. Okay, let's have a short question and then let's go ahead. IPSec, ARP is at layer 2, IGMP is again a routing protocol, ICMP is a ICMP and IGMP are both TCP protocols. Right. Now, once you look at your wireless routers, how do they communicate with your wireless clients? Okay, there are three modes. One is frequency hopping spread spectrum, one is direct sequence spread spectrum, and one is OFDM. What happens in FHSS is that there are multiple frequencies which are used to communicate. That one single frequency is not used, multiple frequencies are used to transmit your data. That is called frequency hopping spread spectrum. Then there is something called direct sequence spread spectrum, not utilized in these days. These was in if you had heard of WiMAX and Wi-Fi second generation and third generation, that it was used on those systems, CDMA systems. What basically it does is whatever signal you are giving, the signal is XORed with a code and spread below the level of noise. If noise level is this, if this is the noise level, your signal actually travels below the noise levels, makes it difficult to intercept. This is in theory. Actually, it is just above the noise level. So still it was used as a security measure by spreading your signal below the noise levels. Used to take into consideration something called a chipping code. Chipping code is nothing but basically XORing your information with a another input to spread your signal. OFDM is the current generation of modulating multiplexing technique, which is used on your wireless devices. OFDM provides you effective use of the frequency spectrum for high bandwidth applications like 5G, 6G, and 4G. Okay, so what happens is your signal carries certain phases. It has phases which cancel each other and basically doesn't cause interference. So you can use multiple phases of the same spectrum to communicate a large volume of information. Just know this much. You cannot understand OFDM in just one slide. Okay. Bluetooth is used for personal area networking. Okay, it's a low energy network meant for networking small devices. Now, what happens is erstwhile Bluetooth was very, very insecure. It still is an insecure protocol, but used for just integrating low energy devices. Okay. Bluetooth was very vulnerable to blue sniffing attack. You can easily read it. Blue smacking attacks by carrying out a denial of service attack on a particular device. Blue jacking was sending unauthorized messages to devices because there was no authentication. Blue snuffing was accessing data on others' PC, and blue working was taking a remote control device using Bluetooth. All these vulnerabilities existed in generation 1 Bluetooth, and that's why Bluetooth is generally not used on enterprise networks. RFID we've already talked about. RFID is a wireless network, wireless technique by which you track a particular device. So generally, the RFID tags do not transmit anything. Okay, they have a small chip inside it. Once they come near the antenna, they give a code, and that code is verified on the computer. Okay. Similarly, there is something called NFC, near field control. Near field communications. Near field communications is again a small device that is in your hand. It transmits a small code. This code is detected by the NFC receiver, and then the network carries out the transaction. Generally used in remote control and payments. So generally, Apple uses NFC, Samsung uses NFC. You take the application, put it near the NFC controller, payment is deducted, and you pair the application with your credit card or your debit card. All wireless devices will be vulnerable to eavesdropping, because if your signal is in air, anybody can listen to it. Okay, you just need to decode the protocol. You can have on-path attacks. On-path attacks is I catch your signal and then I play it again. Okay, by modifying that data. So I have to come between you and the receiver to carry out such attacks. Okay, now how do you carry out simple wireless attacks? You have wireless scanners. Wi-Fi scanners are easily available. You download app Wireshark, run it on your laptop, and you can easily carry out a scanning of your wireless environment. Okay, carrying out scanning of wireless environment is called war driving. Basically, you take your laptop, go through the road, and find out which all networks are there, if there is any network without any password and all. Basically, carry out scanning of your entire wireless environment. Okay, you can install rogue access point. Okay, you just install a small access point and say free Wi-Fi. And a lot of people, in terms of free Wi-Fi, will start coming and using that access point, and you can generate a lot of information, access data from that particular rogue access point. So never ever go to suspicious looking SSIDs and public hotspots which do not have any authentication. They provide you free Wi-Fi. Never use them. And you have to train your people also not to use rogue access points. You can also establish something called an evil twin. Okay, I go to some office, say EY's office, and there is written EY guest Wi-Fi. Okay, now if I am a attacker, I would like to replicate that evil twin. I will create a similar looking Wi-Fi and say EY guest Wi-Fi, and you come to the office and you say, oh, this is EY's guest Wi-Fi, login. So I can force you to log into an insecure network and collect a lot of your data. So always check what kind of access point you are connecting to. Okay. Then you can do a dissociation attack. What is a dissociation attack? You have a device connected to a particular rogue to an access point. You force the user to disassociate from this and make you connect to a evil twin. You force. How do you force? By interrupting with the signal. You interrupt it and then you force the device to, go and connect to your device. Okay. Now, such kind of attacks are called disassociation attacks. Okay. This can lead to session hijacks. So the moment I make you force you to connect here, I can take over your sessions. Okay. These are all on-path attacks. On-path attacks means I have to come between you and your path with the existing router. And then I force you to come and connect to the other router. Basically to force you to come and connect it to an insecure network from where I can read your data. Then I can cause jamming, denial of service attack. I put a very strong signal at 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz near your office, and your entire wireless network is jammed. So I basically, jam your entire network inside your office building. Okay, that's a denial of service attack. Then on wireless, there is an attack called IV abuse, initial vector abuse. So what happens once you connect with your wireless devices, right? An initial vector is used to establish a session. Okay. Now, the way WEP, that is the first generation of wireless encryption protocol, was broken was using IV abuse. IV, as you know, is the first random number which is used to carry out the initial encryption. Now, if my initial IV is I have able to crack this IV, then my entire session can be cracked. WEP was broken using IV attacks. Okay, EarCrackNG is a very famous tool for attacking WEP hotspots, but these days there are no WEP hotspots. Okay, replay attacks. You first time when you are connecting to your device using WPS, I come in between and take your username and password. Okay, and then I do a replay of that username and password and I establish a connection. Also, replay attacks are used for breaking cryptographic algorithms. If your cryptographic algorithms are not very well protected, implementations are not good, replay attacks can help in breaking your cryptographic, I will say, resilience of your network. There are many more protocols in the network devices which are used. Li-Fi is a laser-based high-fidelity network which is used for communicating long ranges using laser lights. Okay, generally used in mountains and over the top, can communicate up to 200 Gbps. Okay, and can help you in establishing a very strong network using laser. Okay, then satellites are used for over the horizon communication. You have LEO satellites, you have geostationary satellites, which help you in communicating over the horizon. Okay, you have narrowband wireless these days for SCADA systems. We saw last time that SCADA controller is connected to your PLC using a network. Now these days you can implement wireless networks like LoRaWAN. Okay, LoRa is a very low power, small data network which can help you connect your SCADA systems. And then you have protocols like Zigbee, which help you secure the IoT communication. So if your IoT device is connected to a network, earlier it was not on a secure communication. Now Zigbee protocol uses AES 128 to secure the communication between IoT device and your network interface. Okay. Cellular networks are again wireless networks which help you in establishing networks with your mobile phones, and presently it is the 4G and the 5G generation which is in use for establishing cellular networks. What are content distribution networks? Content distribution networks are networks which allow you to host content, right? Like Udemy, Netflix, okay? They help you in accessing a lot of content over the internet, okay? Generally, they are designed for high availability because you want to watch a movie, the movie should be easily watchable. Such networks are called content distribution networks.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe our channel.